one thing I will say is that, you know what I'm saying, with everything that was going on with the Miami high ties with Coach Frank Martin and all that, but you still took the time to come down and you just didn't put it on the relationship of other guys. It could have been easy to say, okay, Frank, Coach Grant, we got that locked in, but you remember coming down to Miami?
Oh, listen, I used to hang out at Three Fingers all the time, late at night. They were passing,
Three Fingers Lounge.
They were passing 40 ounces through the window.
Yes, sir, Three Fingers Lounge,
Yeah,
Coach B.
yes,
One of my coaches,
there.
Coach B, used to own a little lounge.
Yes.
Called Three Fingers. First of all, that's nuts in itself.
I never forget it. I went by Brent Wright's house. He was the first guy we signed. And I mean, I had known Anthony when I was at Kentucky as an assistant, and I had known Shaky for a long time. And then Coach Bernard, who was there as the assistant. So I always came down, just because Anthony had relationships. I felt like I needed to get to know everybody else down here, and I always did that. But I never forget it. Went to Brent's house. His mailbox had like 4 bullet holes in it, So I was always walking around in Miami with the right crews to take care of me.
Yeah, you guys came down and visited me at my grandmother's house in Liberty City. Like, they actually spent the time, and that was the difference between the other coaches, that Coach Donovan. And then when I was up, you came down and was like, listen, I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to get you in with this. Like this,
I had to come down academically and sit there.
Right now, what's going on? I don't know if I'm gonna get you in. Like this, you got to get this together. This is not gonna work. So obviously, I figured it out. But I remember that. And also another thing that I remember was I had never met nobody from New York. He talked so fast. I don't know what he said, but I was like, I'm in. I'm in. I'm buying whatever he sold me. I'm in. Like, that shit was coming quick, and I was like, okay, I'm in. I believe.
He was elite at that for sure.
Oh yeah.
Talk about coming from Marshall, where you were, and going to Florida. Obviously, I mean, it's hard to say you expected exactly what happened, but what was your expectations going to Florida at the time? Because obviously you're super young. And then, your relationship with Jay Will and some of that stuff, because to me, those are some of the best stories, obviously seeing his talent.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it was incredible. So the interesting thing, when I was an assistant coach at Kentucky, I'd gotten a call from a coach in West Virginia who told me about Jason Williams. And I invited him to Kentucky's basketball camp. And at that point in time, I was probably maybe 24, 25 years old. So I was still playing. And Jason and I developed a really, really great relationship. And we really had a need to bring in a starting point guard, and Jason was like...
This is at Kentucky?
At Kentucky. Okay. Jason was going into his senior year of high school. He was probably 6'1", 155 pounds, soaking wet. And I think it was the same year Jason Kidd was coming out and guys like that. So that's who we were recruiting. Oh, wow. And so Jason ended up signing to go to Providence, but Rick Barnes had left and went to Clemson, and so he ended up going to Fork Union Military Academy. And then when I went to Marshall, he came with me. But the thing that was interesting is, when I was at Kentucky as an assistant coach, the thing that amazed me in recruiting was once teams like Indiana and Kentucky and Duke and North Carolina got involved recruiting guys, schools would just stop recruiting them. They would just say, we can't get them, and they'd stop recruiting them. And I always felt like when I got to Florida, I didn't know what it would be, but I felt like I needed to recruit, and we needed to recruit the kind of players that I thought we needed to recruit that I respected and had great admiration for. The one thing I would say that was totally different from you two guys and a lot of guys is when you come down to Florida, there's a lot of distractions. You were totally driven to be great. And I've never seen a guy go from the most dominant low post player
no doubt.
In college basketball in his era.
The U-Dominator, that was what it's called.
To doing what he had to do physically. And I've always said this about you guys: throw you guys in any system and you guys will figure out how to impact winning. And I think that's what made you guys great. And so I just wanted to identify that. And then guys that love to play, toughness, competitiveness, and guys that wanted to line up and work every day. And that's cool. That's kind of how we started the recruiting. And those guys we identified, we really tried to recruit hard, and that's what we ended up doing.
I'm such a fan of Jay Will. That's one thing you can never say. That man would live in the gym.
Yeah.
He still plays. He goes and plays at the rec game. When you brought him in at Marshall and stuff like that, what was it like? Holy shit! What is this? Because that's how I was the first time I saw him. Like, yo,
I ain't never seen
what's going on right now?
But I say the same thing when I saw you. I say the same thing when I saw you.
I'll give you a great story, right? So we're trying to recruit Jason Kidd, and it's funny when I see Jason Kidd, we talk about this sometimes. I'm trying to recruit Jason Kidd when I'm at Kentucky, and anyway, I've got to make this phone call to Jason Williams and say, Jason, listen, we're kind of going in a different direction. And it broke my heart because he and I had gotten close and had a really close relationship during that time. So I'll never forget it. You guys remember these, the Nike All-American camps that were in Jersey. You guys all played in them.
Yes.
So I'm sitting watching a game, and I'm with Coach Pitino and PJ Carlissimo. So PJ Carlissimo's talking to Coach Pitino about looking for a point guard. And Coach Pitino, obviously who I played for and was working for Kentucky at the time, says to me, "Hey, Billy, what's the name of that kid from West Virginia that we had at camp?" I said, "Oh, Jason Williams." He said, "He's a really, really good player. Peach, you should look at him." So I said, "Hey, Coach, I'm going over to that court if you want to go over and watch the game for me." So you know the way Jason plays. Behind the back, through the legs, everything else. So he's coming across half court, and he throws a behind the back pass to a guy that's not looking, and it goes through the lane, hits the back of the stanchion. And PJ Carlissimo looks at me and goes, "Are you trying to get me fired?" But Jason, when I left, when I was at Marshall, I had him. I knew he had a chance to be a pro. I knew he had a chance. Right. One, he was incredibly driven. He loved the game. He was always in the gym. He was always eager to get better and just passionately loved the game. And I'll never forget it. When I left to go to Florida, I had a team meeting, and those moments are never great, especially when you're coaching guys. You're with a team. You never want to leave. So when I was leaving, he was waiting outside for me, and he grabbed me and says, "I want to come with you." And I just said, "Jason, you're from West Virginia. You're here to stay here." He says, "Nope, I want to come with you." So he ended up coming to Florida. And right when he was at Florida was when we started recruiting you guys. And he was the one guy that we could maybe have to say, "Listen, if this guy's here for the next couple of years as a point guard, you guys will love playing with him." And I've always had enormous respect for Jason, just all the way around.
He loved hoops so much, but not school so much. Tell us one of my favorite Jay Will stories of all time. Tell that story about how he came into your office.
Jason, I knew Jason had a chance to be a pro, but I was also worried about him academically, right? And as Udonis said, he needed to get his act together academically, right? So Jason is not doing great in school. And I said, "Jason, listen, every time you miss a tutor, you miss a class, you're late for something, it's 6 o'clock in the morning." So sure enough, first day I get a phone call, missed his tutor. 6 o'clock in the morning, he's up running. Next day it was late for class, 6 o'clock. And after about 5 days of this, he comes in my office and says, "Coach, how about we just do this? How about I just get up every morning at 6 and run and never go to class?" So like,
Listen, you remember when Billy called us in the office?
Oh, God.
Do you remember when you called me and Mike in the office? And you
Coach, I don't know if you remember this story.
Oh, the prima donna?
No, that's a different one.
What the fuck are you guys doing?
Yeah. He calls us in, and me and UD are sitting outside the office, and we're thinking you're about to gas us up because we're freshmen. This is about the season start. Like, okay, it's our shit. We're going to go run this thing. We walk in there, and you look at us, and you said, "UD, Mike, what the hell are y'all doing?" I looked at UD and said, "What are you doing, dog? I'm working my ass off."
I looked at him like,
he said, "You got an F and F and D." And he started making everyone walk us to class. I say, "Your patience," I'm telling you, I was a college coach.
He literally said, "If the season starts today,
you're not eligible."
I couldn't play either one of you motherfuckers. I couldn't play either one of you motherfuckers. If the season started today, I couldn't play either one of you motherfuckers.
I looked at him too. I said, "What are you doing, dog? I'm working my ass off."
I mean, that's the first time I had left Miami. It was all different. It was a lot going on. So shit was moving fast for me. I was trying to figure it out.
I was from a town of 13,000. I didn't even know where I was at the time. But like that's to me, that's great coaching though, especially in college, is because it's hard. The endurance of college coaching is hard. Like taking us and not just say, "Oh, don't worry about them." You took us and and now we're walking to class. You're signing into class. We righted the ship, and obviously we're thankful for that because we ended up being able to play. But that was interesting.
Well, the one thing I always felt like, from a coaching standpoint, is I could never put heart and passion in a player, but I can get him to go to class. Damn, Mike.
You sure about that?
Yeah.
You sure you can go to class?
I can get him to stay eligible.
Hey, listen.
But you know what I mean? Like you guys love to play.
You made him push the panic button?
He made me push the panic button. I started asking Matt Bonner, "Can I cheat?" Matt was smart as shit. Matt had a 5.0. You can't even get that. I was like, "Matt, I need some help here." I just look over.
What did Matt say to you?
Motherfucker told me he helped me study. I say, "Matt, you don't understand. You don't understand what I asked you."
I can study on my own.
I didn't ask you to help me fucking study. Motherfucker, I asked you to let me get off your paper.
Yeah.
He didn't let me get it off his paper. So.
No, but
shout out to Matt though.
You guys were not going to fail because of academics. You guys were too smart anyway. But you guys, your guys' drive and passion to compete and play and win was as good as anybody I've ever been around, right?